here's something for you people. You probably are already aware of this, but because I've told you, the rumor is that the Right Family Foundation aren't that stoked about Sean Plunket at the moment. And it's not even a rumor, it's confirmed because Sean Plunket told the world that they had a meeting with the Right Family Foundation, certainly one of the members of it, and they made a decision to stop getting conspiracy theorists on. It was a directive from the partners that they wanted it to stop. So what happens in the middle of a conversation when Sean Plunket accidentally realizes he's platforming Counterspin talking points? If you haven't seen the thumbnail for this episode yet, the face that I've got with Sean Plunket in that thumbnail is the actual face from this clip you're about to see when he realizes he's broadcasting to his audience Counterspin talking points. Now, much like we said last night, why would he then go and amplify it? I wouldn't have known about this if it hadn't been on a clip that came across my YouTube feed. I don't know. But what I've got for you now is this actually is about a 6-minute clip. I don't think we're going to necessarily interrupt it. We're going to let it play out. It's something I assembled and made today. It will go up on Twitter after the show today, so if you want to share it around, you're more than welcome to. But it's Sean Plunket talking to someone who was at the Palmerston North Julian Bachelor meeting. Now, you know we've spoken to Victoria and Hannah. Victoria, who was absolutely assaulted at that meeting, and Hannah, who was part of the organising team of that meeting. Now, Julian Bachelor had come out on the platform talking about, we got assaulted too. So they've tracked down this person who says that she was one of the people that got assaulted as a supporter of Julian Bachelor. I'm going to play you some of this. I'm going to show you who that person is. And I'm going to let you see when Karen realizes Counterspin Media are now basically speaking to his audience through his platform. Right? So this is already there. It's a self-enclosed bit. I'm going to push play and I'm going to let you have a look at it and then we'll have a talk about it afterwards.
And many 5G weapons experts are telling us that nanoparticulates in the human body will be the body's connectivity to the coming 15-minute city, digital ID, blockchain, CBDC, 5G slavery system. And as we know, 5G not only mimics COVID symptoms in the human body, but its effects are multiplied exponentially once metal particulates are introduced into the body. Then there's the whole other issue of how those fraudulent tests are being used to prop up the pandemic lie, justify lockdowns, spread fear, and hide jab injuries by diagnosing their symptoms as COVID.
Yes, it is.
These tests have been proven over and over to be fraudulent.
Wow. Now, did you know, Julian, before this, have you been involved in political activism before, Samantha?
No, not really. I mean, I had met Julian many years before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you politically active in any other way, Samantha?
Politically active, well, I mean, I definitely, I have an interest, much more in the last couple of years than I did in any
Right,
years
but you're not
before
a
that.
member of a political party, you're not standing for office, you're not helping anyone run a political campaign?
No.
No, right.
All the footage is available on Counterspin Media on their Facebook page or the Twitter page, the actual footage.
How did it get to them?
Well, they did an episode called the United Nations Great Kiwi Swindle, Co-Governance Exposed. And I know, people at Counterspin, so...
Do you know people at Counterspin? Who do you know at Counterspin?
Kelvin and Hannah.
Oh, so you're friends of theirs?
That was the face,
Yes.
by the way. That's the face.
So,
That's the thumbnail.
Samantha, you said you weren't politically active, right?
I'm not involved in any political party as such. No.
Okay,
That's
so
no,
how
but
well
I've
do you
had
know?
people-
How do you now? Well, do you know Kelvin and Anna?
Well, I know them well enough to know that from listening to what they've had to say in the last couple of years, I guess I've just gathered more respect because they have been right about everything that they've been talking about. I just need to say that they were shouting my name, possibly because a week or two before that I had gone along to the drag time story hour here at the museum in Palmy, and politely...
I've never been politically active. I've never done political activism, but just by chance I attended a drag time story hour to protest, but I've never been politically active.
and respectfully asked the drag queen, why they felt they needed to
I
be
bet
there
it was
talking
respectful.
Yeah.
publicly.
Bet.
And they didn't appreciate that, and there was a lot of hatred around that.
So
and-
they were
and-
the same people at the anti-K governance counter protest as were at the drag queen thing.
Yes, the I guess what you'd call far left woke brigade was there in droves, and a lot of those people were there.
Got that on my bingo
There
card.
was a drag queen in stilettos with a big platinum wig who literally caged me in the entire time with a flag, and his friend, this rainbow lady. They were covering my phone and preventing me from being able to film the entire night. So yeah, there was...
I believe that rainbow lady might be someone we know who we've had on the show. I believe that she won't name her, but that rainbow lady might be someone associated with someone we've spoken to recently.
There's a
Good
strong LGBTQ contingent.
Okay.
Strong.
So 7 minutes of Plunket allowing, with no evidence provided for his guest to tell the story of assault. He gives the mildest pushback as even he realises how unreliable this witness is.
And look, I'll be brutally honest with you. Counterspin are not a media organisation. The people behind it, I think, are highly questionable morally, Samantha. Can I also ask you, are a member of any other group like Voices for Freedom?
Because he's worried now.
No, I'm not.
Okay, but you do seem to be involved in a whole... You said to me you weren't political, and I'm sorry, just from what you've told me and your associations, you sound like you are.
Well, you asked me specifically if I was a member of a
Okay, and
party.
you deliberately... I'm just
He didn't actually. He asked her if she was a political activist. That was one of the questions he asked.
going to put it to you, Samantha. You answered in a way you knew what I was getting at, and you answered a way which kind of got around it.
Well, no, I mean, I think you could say anyone's political. In this day and age, anyone who cares about the state of our country is going to be politically inclined.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I'm politically
And
inclined.
I'm not saying that this makes me believe the veracity of your story any less. I think you've given us a quite chilling account of what things are getting to at these meetings, and it's just such a pity that the police do not intervene, whatever your views or politics, to protect a citizen like you, because that, damn it, is their job, isn't it?
So finally, Plunket wraps up his interview by making some absolute statements. In other words, he speaks it like it's absolute truth that further his narrative that he wants on his platform, while still attempting to distance himself from the source and her colleagues.
That is Samantha Edwards, clearly the victim,
Clearly,
from
the
what she
victim.
accounted to us, of an assault
Clearly.
and harassment
Oh,
outside
absolutely.
Clearly the victim of an assault, because she told me, and it suits my narrative.
Stop co-governance meeting in Palmerston North 2 weeks ago. And sounds to me, whether or not you agree, and Counterspin, look, honestly, those people are not nice people. I'm just going to say it.
Coming from a not nice
they're
people.
certainly not journalists. The
I know,
guy's a
not nice
fantasist, an absolute blowhard fantasist.
Blowhard from King
But that
Blowhard.
doesn't mean that, Samantha Edwards' story isn't true.
Now, what
Oh,
Plunket
doesn't it?
says is true. What his guest background is doesn't necessarily make her account untrue. What it does do is question her reliability as a witness, and she has an obvious agenda, a fact that a journalist, in speech marks, should have probably delved into and not just taken as absolute fact. Now, a few things about that little clip that I made this afternoon. Here is the first. How many things, or how many ways, and how many things can Sean Plunket call on to make an opposing opinion invalid? Do you remember, for example, Suze Wilson, trade unionist? Do you remember talking to people about being student politicians? Do you remember about being woke? Do you remember about being on the left? All of those things in Sean Plunket's world cause him to think that the other person's opinion is invalid. He has a million ways to cancel people's opinions based on far flimsier accusations than not just I know Hannah and whatever his name is from Counterspin, but I make content for them and I have an agenda that wants to speak against these people. So it's part of her. I don't know whether it's a pay job or a hobby or whatever. It's part of her, the lady's gig to actually put out this content. To me, that's far more damning of an agenda than, oh yeah, when I was a student, I called myself a Marxist. Oh, well, your opinion doesn't matter 43 years later, Chewy. Yeah, anyway, that was one of the things that just made me think, Chewy, how easy is it for him to delete people's opinion based on far less?
Oh, absolutely. And if only this man who had spent decades as a journalist could hold a coherent, consistent thought across whatever point he's trying to make. I love the fact that he's fallen into this absolutely easy trap, right? Vet your guests.
Yeah.
I don't know, do a Google search would have brought up all of that. That's something that is like the bare minimum. He keeps on just bamboozling himself. Like
That's the moment.
I know the context of this, but that's almost like a come hither wink, which is unsettling.
No, that's the moment.
Either
Going,
that or he's having a stroke.
shit. Oh shit. That's that
fucked
moment.
up. I done fucked up. I just want to say the chat absolutely went off during that. Everybody really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
And I do want to highlight, and I don't often do this, a discussion that happened because it is just the gold standard.
Okay.
Where did it start? Emma with a classic double comment here. Woke brigade, woke brigade, woke brigade. Woo! Woke brigade. And then that was picked up by Dr. Ratweasel. Get a grip, Emma. And Emma, straight off, I think there's nanoseconds between these comments. Grip these nuts. If I could nominate that interaction for an Emmy or a Pulitzer Prize, I absolutely would. Absolute gold standard. Thank you very much.
Hey, there's one other thing I wanted to highlight to you on the video, because I think we've got a fan. Would you like to see our fan?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got a fan. Someone is watching us, Chewy. Because at the start of the clip, Karen was talking about these people who had done the protesting at Palmerston North, and you could just hear the love in his voice about the platform, small p, that those people went on to talk about it. And I think we've got a fan.
And whilst much was made recently of two incidents inside the halls where a woman snuck in and blew a whistle and says she was assaulted, and she went on all sorts of minor moronic online media shows.
Oh, shut up!
Big deal. No.
Yay! So I think he might have given us a t-shirt. BHN, minor moronic online shows.
Can we, okay, when we do the next t-shirt run.
He was talking about us. Karen was talking about us.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we do our next t-shirt run, and maybe this is just a special one-off that we just do for Sean, or maybe this is one that people would like to buy. Maybe we do our logo on the front and then his on the back, and we call it the platform, small p.
Little p.
Small
Baby
p.
p? Small p.
Small little baby p. PP. Small PP energy.
Along with the Ku Klux Can. Ku Klux
Minor
Cat.
moronic. The fucking cheek on it. We're majorly moronic.
Yeah, fucking oats. The one other thing I wanted to say,
Put
and
some
look,
respect on
obviously we're having a bit of fun with it. And to be honest, I don't really care about the content that the person was sharing. The thing that I find hilarious is that Ms. Plunket is trying to get away from conspiracy theorists because business mummy and daddy said so. Yet, like we've said many times, if we were doing a podcast about how to fix your engine, then mechanics would listen. These are the people still listening to the platform. They are the people who are still listening to the platform, and that's what his audience still is. Now, maybe not as strong as it used to be in that area, but certainly strong. Now, I pointed out during the conversation when he said, was definitely assaulted. Now, that's based on what she said, and what
There's no
furthers
proof.
his narrative. Now, what he also said at the start of that clip, which I didn't play, he didn't use the word alleged. He said something like a woman who says she was assaulted.
Oh, yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
We'll bring the receipts, you waste of fuck space. like we'll bring the receipts, and we will always bring the receipts, and you'll look for a conspiracy theorist to further your narrative, and you'll freak the fuck out in the middle of it because you'll realize, I'm furthering counterspin talking points. Here's the receipts for the assault, you absolute waste of space. I'm just, it's like it's all fun and games for us because we don't have not that we don't have skin in the game, but we don't have to. We're not the people who suffer the ill effects of this thing, Chewy. You know what I'm saying? We're pretty safe, and we're male, and we're Caucasian, and we don't really come under any of the stresses that a lot of people do. But to take the evil position to further a narrative, which, if I'm even being generous, I will say which hasn't been proven. I'm not even going to say which is absolutely wrong. I've actually got access to a whole bunch of the footage that she's talking about. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to see how she was treated when she left the building, and then I'm going to broadcast it. So I may be prepared to make a statement about how she was treated later on. At the moment, I'll say at the very least, Plunket has seen no evidence of it, and to come out saying she was absolutely assaulted, it's the worst kind of worst. It's not just dog whistling; it's absolutely shouting from the rooftops, that the narrative you want to put out there is anti the protester and pro the racist, misogynistic content going on inside those meetings. Now, let me also say this really clearly. If she was assaulted, like we've done in the past before, if all these things are proven, we will also denounce and talk about that. I'm going to a protest. I think I'm going to a protest on Saturday. And I'm going to be speaking very clearly and loudly if I see anybody committing any acts of any sort of pushing around. I will be stepping in to stop that because it's not okay. It's not okay. And if it's happened to her, I'll speak out against it as well. However, Plunket doesn't know a fucking thing of what's true and not true. We've just showed him some truth in that photo, but because he doesn't know a fucking thing, for him to say she was absolutely assaulted is not just wrong, it's unethical to highlight a word that's used about him often. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, but he's not beholden to the Broadcast Standards Authority because he does what we do. So he can do whatever he wants. Morality and good sense and respect doesn't come into it. Look, it's one of the core differences between us and the platform, right? One, he's beholden to someone who's given him a whole lot of money. And we've skipped that by not having any money. And he's gone out looking for something that will cement the narrative that he wants to do. We've also got a narrative that we would like to be true. But I guarantee you, when you go through that footage, if you find that that's not true, we will talk about how it's not true, or we will acknowledge the fact, well, actually, yeah, she was clearly assaulted, and here's the footage. It's called integrity. It's called standards.
One of the things I've already heard, and I've spoken to people with the footage, is I've already heard that I have to recheck all these details, but I'm pretty sure in the interview with Plunket, she talked about not being able to get out. And in the footage, it shows her on the outside of the group trying to push back in. She could have walked away at any stage. Now, I'll check that and I'll see if that's true, and we'll see what's going to happen. I'm also going to read you, and have you noticed also I haven't said her name at any point. And it's not because I'm trying to protect her. It's because it's like I don't feel the need to. This is not a battle against this one individual. This is a battle against the ideology. It's a battle against, the overall tour that Julian Batchelor is going around. So I don't feel the name. I mean, people can find out who she is by listening to the Sean Plunket interview if you want to try and listen to something and not shoot yourself in the head. But about 3 hours ago, the person in question, I'll just call her Samantha because that's her name, said this on her Facebook page. Now, this is public, so anyone can go and see this. I'm not revealing anything. She's got a public page, meaning anyone can see it. This is what Samantha said. I agreed to do it, and I'm not bringing it up because I'm not interested in anyone then doing anything to Samantha to bully her or to do it. I'm not. That's not how I play. So I'm not bringing it up. So if anyone does anything to her or says anything to her or finds her anyway, it's got nothing to do with me. I'm not saying her name. I'm not saying her surname. Nothing. So Samantha says, I agreed to do an interview on the platform this morning, even though I seriously dislike the host, Sean Plunket. I agreed to the interview because it's an important discussion between the first, in the first comment below. This is something she does, always the first comment below. The interview went okay. Sean was friendly and treated me quite respectfully, and I'm grateful for that. But after saying goodbye, he seriously insulted people who I care about and respect deeply. Sean Plunket, I can only conclude that the reason you gave such disdain for Counterspin Media and Liz Gunn is because their courage, knowledge, and integrity really shows up your lack of the same. Sean,
Wow,
I challenge you to listen to any of Liz's recent policy videos. My suspicion is that her proficiency and command of the state of politics in this nation would overtake your own within her first sentence. Sean, I also challenge you to point out even one thing that Counterspin has been wrong about. Give it a go. Back yourself like a good journalist would. Well, we've just shown he's not a good journalist. I wonder if you can rescind a journalist. You know, like if you do something wrong, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you can get that qualification taken away. Maybe you could watch one of Counterspin's episodes about the tremendous harm and fake vaccine has caused to people's hearts. I only wish you'd not dismissed them so quickly. Then perhaps you would have had. Then perhaps you wouldn't have had the serious heart event that you just recently suffered. I'm very sorry that happened to you, but it didn't need to. If only you hadn't scoffed at the information they tried to present you with. Why the intolerance for Counterspin's style of deep investigative journalism, Sean? Your rhetoric is remarkably similar to mainstream media in this regard. If it's too confronting, too revealing, or dare I say unpopular, then it's to be condemned. Open, tolerant, free media? Really? I beg to differ. Isn't it funny that she is saying, you know, I don't want the enemy of my enemy to be my friend. I don't want that. But she is basically saying what everyone else has been saying for a long time. It's not open, it's not tolerant, it's not free, but she's doing it from a point of a conspiracy theorist who, I guess, wants to further her narrative as well. But there you go. That was put up this evening.
God, that's a lot of brain worms.
Yeah.
That's just like, there's more worms than apple there. Far out.
So that would be apple worm then. Because if there's more worms, there'd be apple getting into the worms rather than the worm into the apple.
It's really interesting watching two detestable groups just absolutely have at each other with their own sort of language and their way of talking. And like, you showed me that Facebook page and I felt like I had eye cancer afterwards. It was just, some people are so far down that rabbit hole. There's no pulling them out. You just blow up the hole and move on.
So anyway, poor old Karen. I don't think we have to feel sorry for him, because what he looks for is a story to further the narrative that he wants, no matter how abhorrent the person is that he has to get on. So what he'll do, whether it's active or not, is do no research on the person, because then he never has to make the decision, maybe we shouldn't have this person on. He's got producers that didn't obviously give him the information, or if they did, it just goes to show what a narcissistic personality he has, to say, I care more about the narrative than I do about the person giving the narrative. And he's put himself in a position where he has amplified Counterspin talking points whilst trying to distance himself from Counterspin. Chewy. Feels a bit repetitive, this conversation, doesn't it? About people's dilemmas, amplifying conspiracy theories whilst trying to distance himself from conspiracy theories. The Right Family Foundation is not happy with the conspiracy theories, and then they put it up as a clip. They didn't even go, well, shit, that didn't go too well, lads. We better leave that one off. No, it's up there as a clip. So that then goes to show the kind of professionalism of the outfit as well, and how they don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. I think I'm done with them, Joey. Have you got something to show?
Yeah, just a question. Was he ever a journalist?
Yep.
Yes.
He is a journalist.
And it's amazing to watch someone that has had the career that Sean has had just completely flush it.
But you can say the same about Liz Gunn. Liz Gunn was a serious, qualified, well-presented journalist, and look what she's doing now.
Who's the other one on Fuckwit FM?
Fuckwit FM? I don't know.
Yeah, the Voices for Freedom radio, reality check radio.
Oh, right.
Bryce Edwards?
No. Take the dog. Is it Neil Brennan? Is that his name?
No.
I actually know nothing about that guy. I don't know.
Let me have
Peter Williams.
Peter Williams, that's who
Yeah,
I'm talking
Peter
about.
Williams. Yeah.
People with long and storied careers.
Yeah.
Just absolutely flushing it. And I
Yeah.
mean, this is like Liz Gunn is, you can find old footage of her on the news. She was a good presenter. She seemed to have a brain in her head, and because she's got that broadcasting experience, can be a very convincing speaker. As long as you don't listen to what she's actually saying.
Yeah.
But if you weren't listening to the words, you would go, "This is a very convincing speaker," and that's why these people are extra dangerous, because they will convince people. And there are people that go, "I've seen this person on the news, therefore they must be trusted." So
Indeed.
yeah.
So as we speak, I'm uploading that clip that we just played to my Twitter feed. If anyone wants to use it or share it or whatever, it'll be
That's
going.
That's gonna go hundies.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, to be honest with you, Whānau who watch us, me and Chewy got together this evening. We went, should we do this? Should we not do this? Is this too long? Because I'm always a broadcaster, and I'm like, can I make it shorter? Should we make it shorter? And we thought, no, we'll just play it. See what you guys think. So hopefully you enjoyed that. That was about an hour and a half of my day today, making that 6-minute clip for us all. And yeah, so there we go. So I don't know. I would just be, the thing is, I'd be embarrassed if I realized I had someone on and I'd amplified a whole bunch of counter spin points and then let it go out there. And because to be honest, you haven't seen the whole conversation, but there is a 7-minute gap where he just lets her tell the story. He doesn't push back at all. He kind of goes, "Oh, counterspin. Now give me your story." Or, "I don't like counterspin. Now help me with my narrative." That's basically the interview in a nutshell. It's terrible.
Yeah.